Approval is the most expensive currency you own, and you are handing it out for free to people who would not lend you a single hour of their time if you needed it. This is not generosity, it is hemorrhage. Every nod, every compliment, every "you are right" is a coin you can never get back, deposited in an account that pays you nothing. You think you are being kind, you are being looted. Society told you to validate them, to make them feel seen, heard, understood, to never withhold your warmth, because warmth is the foundation of healthy relationships. They were lying, not by accident, by design. Validation given without condition is not warmth, it is subsidy. You are funding the psychological operating system of every person around you, and the moment the subsidy stops, their entire emotional economy collapses. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. He observed in The Prince that love is held by a chain of obligation that breaks the moment serving themselves becomes more useful, while fear is maintained by an apparatus the holder of power controls. Apply that to validation. Approval given freely creates no obligation in the person receiving it. What was given for nothing is valued at the price you charged for it. Nothing. Your warmth is currency. They have trained you to print it without limit, and the inflation has destroyed your purchasing power in every relationship you have. The friend who calls only when collapsing, the colleague who borrows your energy without crediting it, the family member who has spent 30 years cashing in your reassurance. Every one of them is paying you in promises that never mature. You were taught that this was kindness. It is not kindness. It is a slow bleed dressed up as virtue. And the system that taught it to you was not designed to keep you healthy. It was designed to keep you supplying. There are 4 psychological principles that govern the dark architecture of strategic withholding. By the end of this, you will hold the blueprint for the most underused weapon in social power: the unreadable face, the unimpressed silence, the approval that never arrives. But pay close attention to the 3rd principle. It will reveal something about you that you have been avoiding for years, something you already suspect but have not yet been forced to name. If you are tired of being the person who lights up rooms for people who will not light a single candle for you, what follows is the architecture of strategic absence, the validation economy. Every relationship you have is a balance sheet. Approval flowing in, approval flowing out. You believe you are in a friendship. You are in an unrecognized transaction. Most people behave as net givers. They have been conditioned to confuse net giving with virtue. The net givers fund the net receivers, and the net receivers never put a single coin back into the account they have been draining. Leary called the underlying mechanism sociometer theory. Your self-esteem is not what you think it is a gauge, an internal meter that reads how much validation you are currently receiving from the people around you. Starve the meter and the gauge collapses. The mind in front of you is wired to that gauge. It is reading it constantly, and what you choose to give or withhold sets the price of every word that follows in the conversation. Cesare Borgia understood this in 1502. His condottieri, the hired captains who had built his empire, were turning against him. They had grown restless, and they were plotting at Magione. Most rulers in his position would have argued with them, would have threatened them, would have offered concessions and reassurances. Borgia did none of these things. He went silent. For weeks he refused to give them a single signal of where they stood with him. He neither approved nor disapproved. He simply withdrew the gauge. By the time he invited them to a conference at Senegalia in December 1502, they were starving for an answer. They walked into his fortress because the validation famine had become unbearable. They needed to know if they had been forgiven. Borgia greeted them with warmth. He embraced them, he fed them dinner, and then he had them strangled. The famine had created the opening. The dagger then closed it. Machiavelli, who was present as the Florentine envoy, would later cite this episode in The Prince as a model of strategic execution. This is the exact same mechanism operating in your life right now. Think about the last person who would not stop seeking your approval, the friend who texts to confirm a decision they have already made, the colleague who needs your assessment of their work before they can submit it. They are not asking for advice, they are checking a meter. You are the meter. You must understand this clearly. You are not the friend in those conversations, you are the gauge they have installed inside their nervous system. Every reassurance you have ever offered them has been a calibration of that gauge, performed at no cost to them and at a permanent cost to you. Now think about the last time you sought someone's approval. Who is reading your gauge? And what have you been willing to pay them in compliance and self-erasure to keep the needle steady? You now see the meter. You now see that every relationship is a balance sheet, but the meter is not the worst part. There is a deeper mechanism that runs beneath it. Something that happens inside the mind of the person you have been validating every time you give them another coin. And it has nothing to do with friendship, it has everything to do with addiction, the mirror famine. When you give someone validation, you are not just running a transaction, you are installing yourself as one of their mirrors. They use you to know who they are. Withhold the mirror suddenly, and they do not simply feel disappointed. They experience the collapse of one of their primary instruments for knowing themselves. Charles Cooley named this in 1902. He called it the looking glass self. Your mind is built out of the reflections it receives from other minds. Take a mirror away suddenly, and the face inside dissolves. The face was never independent of the mirror. The face was an aggregate of every reflection it had ever been shown. It gets worse. The schedule on which you have been validating them is what behavioral psychologists, following Skinner, call a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. The same mechanism that keeps a gambler feeding quarters into a slot machine is the mechanism that has been training the people around you to chase your approval. They never know when the next nod will arrive. So they keep performing, they keep fishing, they keep escalating. Cut the schedule entirely, and you trigger what behaviorists call the extinction burst. They will escalate before they collapse. That escalation is your information. It tells you exactly how much of their psychological infrastructure has been running on your supply. Does this sound calculating? Good. Talleyrand was calculating. In 1814, his country had lost a war. Napoleon was finished. France was the defeated power at the Congress of Vienna, and Talleyrand arrived with no leverage. None. The Austrians, the Russians, the Prussians, the British, they had crushed his country, and they had come to dismember it. Every diplomat at the Congress brought him positions, demands, alliances. Talleyrand responded to none of them with affirmation. He praised no one. He flattered no one. He maintained an unreadable, slightly amused detachment, as though the proceedings were beneath his concern. He kept the mirror permanently dim. Within weeks, the same powers that had defeated his country were competing for his approval at his dinner table. They wanted to know what he thought. They wanted to know if their proposals met his standard. They were the victors, he was the loser, and the loser, by refusing to praise them, had become the only mind in the room whose opinion they could not predict. France left the Congress of Vienna in 1815 with its borders nearly intact. One man understood that a withheld mirror is more powerful than 1,000 promises. Now look at your closest relationship, the person who gets the most of your warmth. How quickly would they crack if your warmth simply went neutral for a week? Not cold, not angry, just neutral. Take that question seriously. The answer is the exact measure of what they have been borrowing from you without repayment, and it is the exact measure of how much of their identity has been propped up by the mirror you have been holding. You must look at the answer. You must not flinch from it, because the mirror you have been holding is the same mirror they will burn down the moment you stop polishing it for them. Here is the tactical application. For the next 14 days, you say nothing affirming to the people who have been collecting your approval the most aggressively. Not coldness, not punishment. You become a polite, unreadable wall. When they share their accomplishments, you nod. You do not say impressive. You do not say well done. You do not say that is amazing. You simply receive the information. They will escalate. They will share more dramatic stories. They will fish for praise more openly. They will eventually ask directly if something is wrong. That escalation is the data. You are watching the meter in real time. You are watching exactly how much of their psychological scaffolding has been running on yours. You must do this without explanation. The moment you explain, you have validated them, because the explanation alone confirms that the change is significant enough to require a reason. Silence is the protocol. Silence is the audit, the substitute slot. This is the principle teased at the start of this video, the one the rest of the framework was building toward. When you withhold validation from someone who depends on it, they do not learn to live without a mirror. They install another one, and the mirror they install is almost always pulled from your shared environment. Your friends, your sibling, your partner. The famine creates the slot. The slot is filled by whoever is geographically and emotionally nearest. This is the part nobody warns you about. The person you starve does not vanish from your life. They start drinking from your well. They start recruiting from the people who knew you first. They will weaponize the social geography you spent 20 years building, because the validation machine cannot run dry. It will reroute. It will find a new supplier. And the supplier it finds is almost always somebody close enough to you that you cannot easily extract them. You must see this. You must not look away. And now the truth arrives that has been waiting for you the entire video. You are not just the validator in some relationships. You are the validated in others. You have an emergency mirror somewhere in your life. A friend, a family member, a person who reliably tells you who you are when the rest of your gauges go dark. And you have been running them every week on a variable ratio reinforcement schedule without ever recognizing that you have been doing to them exactly what is being done to you. You think, of course not. I am the considerate one. I am the one who gives. You are. And you are also the one who texts a specific person when a setback arrives, the one who picks up the phone when the room you walked into went colder than you expected, the one who needs that specific voice to confirm you are still who you thought you were. Augustus understood the principle at imperial scale. For more than 4 decades, he refused certain titles. He refused to be called Rex. He refused the title Dominus. He turned down triumphs the Senate offered him after his early career. He performed a public modesty so consistent that the entire Senate spent their political careers competing to give him more. They offered him titles. He took them while pretending not to want them. They offered him powers. He accepted them while declining ceremonially. They offered him the empire itself. He took everything they offered while pretending not to want it. The Senate built him an empire because he never let them know they had succeeded in pleasing him. The validation famine was administered to the entire ruling class of Rome. The ruling class handed him the world. Abraham Maslow named the fear that drives all of this. He called it the Jonah complex. The fear of your own greatness. You are not afraid of being alone. You are afraid of discovering who you are when the borrowed mirrors are removed. So you keep handing out approval because as long as you are the supplier, you do not have to be the one being measured. Approval giving is not generosity, it is camouflage. It is the strategy of someone who would rather subsidize another mind than face the question of what they themselves contain. If you continue to be a free validator to everyone in your life, you will not end up surrounded by friends. You will end up surrounded by debtors who have no intention of repaying you, and one emergency mirror you have been quietly enslaving, and you will have chosen it. Every day, in every conversation, in every reflexive compliment, you will have chosen it. We have exposed the economy. We have starved the mirror. We have found the substitute slot, including the one you have been filling for someone else. Now the final destination arrives. The state that once installed cannot be dismantled by anyone, including the part of you that wants to go back to handing out free approval. The strategic withholding state. You do not become cold, you become deliberate. Validation is no longer a reflex. It is a transaction with a price. You give it for outcomes, not for participation. You give it for courage, not for performance. You give it once, never twice, for the same achievement, because the second giving devalues the first. And you let the silence between the givings do most of the work. This is not coldness, it is calibration. This is not arrogance, it is precision. This is not cruelty, it is the refusal to subsidize what was never going to earn its keep. When you operate from this state, three things happen at the same time. People stop being able to predict your reactions, and they become slightly anxious in your presence. Not in the way that drives them away, in the way that makes them try harder. And the ones who only ever wanted free approval will quietly fall out of your orbit because there is nothing left in it for them. They will misread you, they will call you cold, they will call you arrogant, they will call you detached. Let them. Their misunderstanding is the price of admission to a psychological operating system that 99% of people will never install. You must remember this. The unreadable face is not the face of someone who feels nothing. It is the face of someone who has stopped subsidizing the people who would not subsidize them. The unimpressed silence is not the silence of someone who does not care. It is the silence of someone whose approval has become the most valued resource in every room they walk into. You must give it sparingly. You must give it only when it has been earned by something more durable than performance. You must understand that the first person you stop overpaying is the version of yourself that has been trying to buy belonging with currency it did not have to spend. You walked into this video handing out approval for free. You now see the economy. You now see the mirror you have been propping up. You now see the substitute slot, including the one you have been filling for someone else. You can never look at a friendship the same way again. You can never compliment a co-worker tomorrow without knowing exactly what the coin is worth and exactly who has been counting it. The question is what you do with the knowledge. Are you going to keep printing currency until your warmth is worthless? Are you going to keep installing mirrors for people who will not look back at you when the lights go out? Are you going to keep feeding the slot machine that the people closest to you have been playing on your nervous system for years? Or are you going to administer the famine, install the state, become someone whose approval is the most valued resource in every room they walk into? Most people will close this video and go back to validating. They prefer the familiar exhaustion. They will compliment a co-worker tomorrow who has not earned it. They will tell a family member next week that everything they are doing is wonderful when it is not. They will keep feeding the machine because the machine at least lets them feel that they matter to someone. The mirror is in your hand. You can keep showing it freely to every face that demands one, or you can turn it around. The only question remaining is what you will do the next time someone fishes for your approval, and they will fish. Most people will scroll to the next video. They will absorb the theory and return to handing out free approval tomorrow morning. They will keep paying the validation tax. They will keep installing mirrors for minds that will not hold the reflection back. They will keep hoping for the witness who will never arrive. But somewhere in your life is another mind that should see this, the one who has been bleeding warmth into rooms that were never listening, the one who has been the emergency mirror for someone they suspect is using them. Send this to them. Some debts are owed to minds like yours. The frequency has been sent from Mindcrypt. Those who can receive it will find the next transmission. Those who cannot will return to the noise. The question is simply which one of those two you are.